Hey, my lovely friends, welcome back. This video is a request from a viewer, and it's the fragrances that my husband loves the most on me. Now, I have an entire shelf back here dedicated just to the fragrances that my husband likes. Because let's be real, if you have a significant other, if you have family that lives with you, even a roommate, you want that other person in your space to enjoy your fragrance too, don't you? Maybe some of you are super ruthless and could care less who around you is offended by your fragrances. Myself, I like a mix. I'm gonna wear what I wanna wear at the same time. If my husband loves it, if our kids love it, it's a bonus to me. So I hope this video is helpful to you and you find a gem or two in here. The other part that was tricky about this video is I've talked about some of the fragrances that I'm going to mention in this video recently. I really do try to diversify the fragrances that I'm talking about from video to video so that you as a viewer don't get bored to death hearing me talk about the same 5, 6, 7 fragrances over and over again. So I apologize. Some of these are recent repeats, so it's going to feel a little bit rinse and repeat. And there's not much I can do about that because the reason I talked about them in other videos is because they are great performers and my husband likes them. And they're also then part of this video for the same reasons because that's the topic for today. So let's jump in. I've got 13 to share and an honorable mention. I will start with the honorable mention. And the reason that it's there versus one of the solid 13 is that I like this fragrance, but I don't love it. I have considered decluttering it. It is Private Collection Tuberose Gardenia from Estee Lauder. I have the original Private Collection, like the vintage version, which I really love. I guess this is supposed to be a flanker of that. I'm not sure. And there is a new Private Collection version. It's like Low or O did Private Collection or something like that. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's tuberose, it's gardenia, there's some jasmine, and I think there's also a lilac note in here. Maybe that's what's bothering me, the others, because I typically really love tuberose and I love gardenia, and I especially love the combination of them. There's something about this that smells slightly fake to me, like synthetic, a little plasticky, just slightly. But my husband adores this. I put this on, he can smell me in the next room. I become a little bit anosmic to this after a while. Regardless of what I think about this, my husband thinks this is a very refined, womanly fragrance. He thinks I smell like a quintessential lady when I put this on. So this is one of those fragrances that if we went to church, we don't go to church, I might wear something like this to that type of occasion. I'm gonna kick off the baker's dozen of fragrances, the 13, with Borouj Gravity. I'm always wondering how to pronounce this. Borouj Gravity. You've heard me talk about this a lot recently. This is one of the most gorgeous fragrances that I have ever smelled. It is unique. It's so interesting. It's mostly agarwood or an oud, and it's got sugar and vanilla in it also. Now, there's something else in here. Actually, one of our fragrance friends here commented on one of my recent videos that she smells something fruity in here. Now that she said that, I can't unsmell that. There is something a little bit fruity in the background, but the notes that are listed are sugar, woody notes, agarwood, right? And vanilla. And it's intense. A beautiful, sweet, very soft oud fragrance. It's not oud in your face, intense, like some other, Middle Eastern kinds of fragrances where the oud is totally amped up and it takes over the entire composition. I would say this is as much like sugary and clouds, fluffy clouds, as it is vanillic, as it is oudy. Really gorgeous fragrance. Husband loves this. Second is Beyond Romance from Ralph Lauren. Listen, Linda, listen. I have worn this to bed a few times. I have worn it for a full day also, but I love to put this on at night and crawl into bed next to my husband and just casually start looking at my phone, texting, watching TV, and wait for the reaction, which is always, what is that? And it's always this and some of the others in there. Not always this, but often it's this. This is the opening of this is one of the most gorgeous openings to me in all of perfumery. It is a really strong raspberry note, like a cloudy, powdery, soft, pillowy raspberry with a little bit of citrus also, but you get this gorgeous, gorgeous raspberry, really like a raspberry that's super ripe. The taste, the way it tastes is the way that this smells at the top with a cloud of fluff surrounding it. There is vanilla and cashmere and white musk in the base. What's the difference between white musk and any other color musk? I don't know. I'm not that educated in perfumery. If someone knows, please do share, or Google and share with us in the comments, because I'm being lazy and not doing it myself. Absolutely gorgeous. Maybe not the longest lasting, like a half a day's worth is what you're going to get out of this. But for a designer fragrance, this is just amazing, amazing fragrance. Next on my list is Aura. This is the Eau de Parfum concentration, not the EDT, which I also have come to like. I didn't like it when I first tried it. The EDT is much more green to me. This is also green. It's woody and it has a lot of vanilla in it. I describe this, wait for it and hang with me, as my Pepto-Bismol fragrance. Don't lie. I know some of you out there like the smell of Pepto-Bismol. Now, if you've ever tasted it because you've had to take it because you were ill, you know how it tastes. Imagine that as a smell. You get a lot of that smell in here with green notes added on top, like fresh green out in the woods kinds of notes, something a little bit medicinal other than the Pepto-Bismol, some other medicinal notes in here, and a lot of vanilla and woodiness. It is a very peculiar but lovely fragrance. My husband reads this as very sexy. Anytime I've worn this, he's always been like, ooh, what you got on, girl? I'm lying. He doesn't talk like that, but he'll just say, what is that? You smell wonderful. He's always nuzzling into me when I put this on. Really lovely. Like this a lot. The next one may or may not surprise some of you. If you've been put onto this, then you know. And if you know, you know. It is Midnight Fantasy from Britney Spears. Now, my husband can be a little bit of a snob when it comes to fragrances. If it doesn't have a big designer name or some, niche house name on it, he automatically assumes the fragrance is going to smell cheap. That's his word. It smells cheap. So sometimes I love to just trick him and put on the cheap fragrance, rather the inexpensive fragrance, and then kind of, saunter around, letting my scent waft over to him and get his reaction. This is one that he goes bananas over and was super shocked when I told him that it's little old Britney Spears, a $12 bottle of Midnight Fantasy. That still didn't cure him of his fragrance snobbery, but he likes when I put this on. This one has a very fruity opening. I think it's plum and raspberry and cherry also at the top here. Then it gets powdery in the middle and it has a vanillic musky base. So it's in some ways similar to that Beyond Romance that I described earlier, except that's more just raspberry. This has more tart fruits in it with that cherry. Like think of like a tart cherry note mixed in here as well with the muskiness and the vanilla, the sweetness. So again, super girly, like a fun grown-up girly fragrance, not too mature, not too young. Next up is one that I'm sorry is discontinued, but I love it. I even have a backup bottle of it. It's Armani Code Cashmere. This is actually great for a day like today. Let's insert a clip of the foliage, shall we? It's cool here. It's beautiful. My husband is outside doing some woodwork. He's burning some wood, so there's like smokiness in the air. The kids are hanging out doing piano lessons and voice lessons and all of that. And I'm gonna cook a stew tonight, like a chunky beef and potato stew. This is perfect for a day like today with a nice chunky sweater on. It's a sweater weather fragrance. It's floral and it's powdery, but it also has a heavy almond accord in here that makes this soft around the edges, gives it some depth, maybe even some creaminess to it. It's a very like dense, creamy kind of cozy fragrance that I think is special. The closest thing that this smells like to me is La Vie est Belle Le Clot, that one, the flanker that has the like ribbed bottle on it. It's kind of sort of like that, but even more soft and powdery. I hate that it was discontinued. It is really gorgeous. It also has heliotrope. I think that's what's giving it the powderiness in it. And it has leather. It has leather and a little bit of patchouli. You don't get a lot of that, but you do get some of the leather to add additional depth to this. Up next is one that I should probably go on and get a big bottle of because I'm putting a significant dent in it. It's Olympea Intense, but for me to put that much of a dent when I have the collection that I have here and elsewhere is saying a lot about this. This is an amber vanilla with some salt thrown in. It's another very cozy fragrance. In fact, there's a lot about this that reminds me of Armani Code Cashmere, except this one is more complex. I would say Olympea Intense is simpler. Heavy on the vanilla. It's a deep, dark vanilla, not a light and simple one. A heavy amber, a little bit of saltiness. And there are probably other notes in here, like I would guess that there's some kind of nut in here. Probably something like an almond as well, like you get in the Armani Code Cashmere. Very much a cozy fragrance, very feminine. Another one that's great for sweater weather, hanging out under a blanket. Very pretty. Lucky number 7, another one that my husband goes bananas over when I put it on, is Her Highness Black by Afnan. This is a recent addition to my collection, one that I've worn as much as possible. There's a white one, a red one, and a green one. The red one is marketed toward women and it is gorgeous. The white one is marketed toward men. It is also gorgeous and I love to wear it. It's a little more spicy. The green one I cannot wear at all. It smells a lot like a traditional man's cologne. Not the concentration, but we used to call men's fragrances all colognes back in like the 80s. It's a very traditional 80s kind of scent. This here is marketed toward women. It is a powerhouse, fruity, floral fragrance. It's got some of the to me, my favorite florals in here. There's in the middle rose, which I'm coming to love more and more, but also tuberose, there's jasmine, there's ylang-ylang in here. This is very musky in the base. So imagine a heavily musky fragrance with some fruit added and these powerhouse white and yellow florals mixing together. It is just divine, gorgeous, a really sophisticated, complex smelling fragrance. Not to mention that the bottle it probably weighs 983 pounds on its own. And it comes, if you like packaging, it comes in this really gorgeous like coffret. The 8th one that I would like to share with you that my husband loves, excellent date night fragrance, especially if you're going somewhere dark and swanky. It is Amarige by Givenchy, one that I had to get used to when I was younger because it is such an intense powerhouse floral fragrance. This is a fragrance that has like a kitchen sink note pyramid. It has every note imaginable under the sun in it, but what I get out of this in the middle, especially as it mellows down, is this really gorgeous, round, opulent bouquet of florals that come up and are supported by some sandalwood and some amber and some musk in the base. There's nothing else out on the market like this. I haven't laid my nose on anything that's even remotely similar to Amarige. It's very unique. And I'm interested to see that down here it has raised up, like as part of the glass, eau de toilette, because it performs like an extrait de parfum concentration. Just so beautiful. Floral, a little bit of woodiness too. Very deep, very sensual, like the quintessential expression of womanliness in a bottle, if you ask me. Number 9 on my list, and by the way, these aren't ranked, I'm just pulling for them. I just want to give you a preview that we're at 9 and we're getting to 13. This is one I have talked about very recently quite a lot. It's Chinatown by Bond Number 9. It's interesting with this one. People have mixed opinions about this. Some people just can't get with it. It's not something that they like. I love this so very much. It's in my top 10. My husband loves this on me too. It is floral. There's some gardenia and some tuberose in here, but what I get out of it most is something spicy. There's some cardamom in here that really stands out to me. So like a spicy floral, and it just reminds me, I have such great memories of this. Including the fact that when I first wore it around my husband, he couldn't stop sniffing me. He wanted to keep getting closer and snuggling in with this fragrance. By the way, this fragrance also comes in a Swarovski edition where it has crystals on the flowers. If anyone knows where I can get that, please let me know, and get that at a reasonable price. I'm not trying to pay $400 for a bottle of Bond Number 9. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love this. It is like, if you think of Amarige, imagine if you have that same kind of floral. Now, nothing's like Amarige, so let's just be clear. But let's say you took the floral aspects out of that, took away the woodiness of it, and added cardamom, something spicy into it that might give you a sense of what this gorgeous one smells like. This is very special to me. Chinatown. Okay, we are down to the last 4 just for this video. I wish I could share with you like 30 or so, but we're gonna go with Alien Eau de Parfum. Say what you want about Alien. If you hate Alien, I am sorry for you. I love this so much. I can't get enough of it and never want to be without this. This is mostly a jasmine fragrance with some woody notes or woodiness, and it has some amber in it too. And I even saw on one site that there might be some ambergris in here that would give it like that oceanic saltiness, if you will. I don't get that in there. Listen, Alien can do no wrong in my opinion. Some people think this smells like grape juice. I don't get grape juice out of there, but I can imagine how that is what people get, you know, if I really think about it. But to me, this is mostly this really luscious, full, deep jasmine that is anchored by the woody notes. So some jasmine fragrances can be lighter, they can be more airy, like for spring and so forth. This, you can wear this anytime. This was my wedding fragrance in August, like the dog days of August in the high humidity, and it performed really well and smelled amazing. But it's one that also does super well in cool weather, like today, this beautiful like 50-degree fall day here. And in the winter, smells beautiful under a cashmere scarf. I don't know why I said cashmere. Does that make me sound cool? It could be a polyester scarf. Who cares? You're gonna smell beautiful wearing Alien. And ladies, the gentlemen go bananas for Alien. I haven't met one guy that didn't like this fragrance a lot. Okay, I'm down to 3. Maybe this is a little bit of a ranking and I didn't even realize it, but 3 that drive my husband the most insane. Tom Ford Black Orchid, but it's not the regular Black Orchid, which could also be on this list because he loves that too. This is called Voile de Fleur. It's a flanker of Black Orchid. I have seen so many different note pyramids for this, so I'm thinking no one has quite figured out what's in here, but I'm going to tell you what's in here. Magic. This is one of the deepest, darkest, most mysterious, heavily floral, heavily spicy, heavily woody, everything and everything, everything. It's just everything. That's all I can say. I'll share with you what one of the websites says about the notes in here. Black truffle, plum, balsam, milk, milk and cinnamon. Lots of florals. There's sandalwood. This is like everything. It's everything. Not to mention it's in the classic sleek Tom Ford bottle here. Love this. 12th on the list, so we have one more after this, is also one that's a bit newer for me, and it is Tabit from Tiziana Terenzi. One that I grew to love. When I first sampled this, I thought this is nice, but I don't understand what all the hype is about because it's not an inexpensive fragrance. You're gonna pay a couple dollars for this one. It's a fruity, floral, musky beauty. It is as much light and airy as it is deep and dark. It's at both times very heavy and has like this lightness of being, not to misuse the name of the book and movie. But yeah, there's this airiness around the edges. Like it has a really deep, dark core with these heavy floral notes, these woody notes. It has coconut in there, which adds a lot of creaminess to it. But it also has a slight greenness and some fruit at the top as well. And it's like the fruit stays there, but just like hovering over the composition, like fluttering over the florals and the musk and the coconut. But this is, bar none, a very musky fragrance. And last but not least is maybe the fragrance that should be crowned as the man killer. It's Atomic Rose from Initio. This is rose on top of rose on top of rose on top of vanilla with a bit of a musky undertone. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. This is all kinds of beautiful. People say that this smells like Delina. I think that it does in some ways, but there's something like more tart and young about Delina, whereas this is a grown woman's fragrance, okay? This is Boss Babe, this is Jessica Rabbit, this is Sexy Mama. Sweet rose with some pepper. There's hedione in here too. And I think I heard someone say that there's hedione in all of the Initio fragrances, and maybe that's what sets this apart. Hedione is supposed to be this jasmine note with some greenness to it, okay? Like think of like a fresh green jasmine. But what I get out of this is like one of the deepest, thickest rose fragrances, not like tea rose, you guys, not like that. It's a sexy, sexy rose. Atomic Rose. That wraps up my 13 plus honorable mention fragrances that drive my husband batty. Maybe I can do a part 2 at some time and share some of the others with you. I hope you really enjoyed. Please share your thoughts about these choices in the comments. See you in the next one.